Hello, good afternoon. This is David Soto talking to you, and today is my weekly trade predictions for the upcoming trading week of June 17th through June 21st. Okay, so in order to do this, I'm going to look at all the major currency pairs: Euro USD, Pound USD, Australian Dollar USD, New Zealand Dollar USD, US Dollar Swiss Franc, US Dollar Japanese Yen, and USD CAD, US Dollar Canadian Dollar. I'm going to put these all in a 15-minute chart, so this way I can look at the previous week and get an idea of what the upcoming week is going to do based on what has been going on in the market. So to begin with, I'll look at here at Euro USD, okay? And we see that this past week, from June 10th to June 14th, this has been overall steadily dropping, okay? Which would mean that the US dollar is going up some and the euro is coming down, right? Now, we know everything goes in cycles, so if it's been dropping, theoretically it should be going up again, right? But I need to look at some of the higher time frames to get an overall picture of what the market's going to do. So let's go to like an H1, okay? If you look at the H1 time frame, and I shift the chart a bit, we see that the price has in fact been dropping, right, for the last several days of the week. And it started out here on the 10th of June and has been dropping ever since. Now we're at this level of support, right? Pretty much the same level hit before. The question is, yes, this is going to come up, but is it going to go further down this week? All right, we see down here there's another level of support way down here that the price was at before. So let's look at an H4 time frame, okay? If we look at the H4, we kind of get a bigger picture of what the market is doing. And we see here there was a level of support down here, a level of resistance, and an even bigger level of resistance up here. So we have kind of some different ranges here, but overall it looks like this price or this movement will be continuing to drop even further. We have only a down arrow here. On the H1 we have an up arrow, but on the H4 we do not have an up arrow yet. So what I predict is going to happen, if we look at this previous downtrend, and I'm going to draw a trend line here like this, okay? And this is not perfect because even though there's 1, 2, 3 points, there should be a third point touching this to confirm the downtrend. You understand? Now if I go by this line here and look at the H4, okay, we see that yes, this is the downtrend forming. So what I predict is going to happen is between the H1 and H4 that this is going to come up, touch this trend line, and then shoot down even further. It's probably going to go back down to where this support level is here. Okay, so overall this week we can expect a bearish market. All right, in the first day or so, Monday or Tuesday, we should see this price shoot up, and it's not going to shoot up a lot, maybe a few hundred points, and then it's going to drop down even further. If you look at the higher time frames, the daily and weekly, okay, daily we see an up arrow only, and the weekly we see an up arrow only, and the monthly as well is up arrow here, but that's kind of too far out. But at least in the daily and weekly we see a strong signal to buy. So the overall big trend is definitely bullish, that it will be going up. Just in the short term for this week, I predict that the price will in fact be going down at least probably to about Thursday, and we can expect this to hit a level of support probably late Wednesday, early Thursday. Alright, and once it does, it's going to come up and eventually it's going to break this trend line and form a new uptrend. Okay, once it breaks this uptrend, that's when you want to buy. Even though right now on the H1 is showing a buy signal, and you technically you can buy right now if you want and catch a few hundred pips, but what I would do in the beginning of this week is I would put a sell limit pin and order somewhere near this trend line, okay? Somewhere up here, maybe like right about here. Let me draw a horizontal line, or maybe a little higher, maybe about this tick mark here, okay? And make that your sell limit pin and order, and then once it activates, then you catch a lot of pips on the way down. All right, and then once you form an up arrow on the 4-hour chart, then you can close the trade and then wait for this to break trend. Once this breaks this trend line, then you can place a buy trade for long term, and it will probably hold for a week or two, I'm guessing. Okay, so that's my predictions for EURUSD. Moving on to pound USD on the 15-minute chart, we can see that this price was stagnant for a while last week, kind of moving in a horizontal fashion, but then gradually tapered off and dropped, right? So now it's sitting at a fairly strong level of support. If we look at the higher time frames, H1 and H4, H1 shows that it's, it's going up. It's already starting to go up a little bit, and H4 is kind of in the same situation. You do not see a up arrow yet, but it has hit the same level of support that it hit before. So that indicates to me that it's most likely going to be going up this week. Okay, if you look at the daily, it has an up arrow, and the weekly has an up arrow only. Now, it could, at least on the H4 or daily, form another up arrow. But I'm thinking like probably sometime Monday, this will probably drop a little more, or this will go up a ways and then hit some kind of resistance and go back down a little more than where it was, and then this is going to form a support, okay, and then it's going to go back up. Overall, this price will definitely be going up. So like in the first part of the week, what you can guess, what you can predict is, you see this kind of downtrend right here. Let me this is not going to be perfect, but you kind of see these points line up. So we can expect the price to come up, touch this trend line, and come down even further. All right, if I look at this right here, this support level, that would be the final bottom, in my opinion. So this will come up, touch this trend line, and then come back down even further and touch this horizontal line here, this support level, and then bounce back up again. Okay, so wait until this finally breaks trend and then buy. If you want, on a 1 hour, same like you did for EURUSD, you could place a sell limit pin and order somewhere in this area, around this tick mark here, 1.2630 or something like, around that mark, and wait for it to drop. Okay, and then wait for it to touch here. Now once it comes down here and shoots back up, definitely wait for it to break the trend. Once it breaks this trend line, then you can jump in for a long-term buy. Okay, so that's my predictions for pound USD. Moving on to Australian dollar, US dollar, we see a similar fashion where the Australian dollar has been steadily dropping all this past week. So like anything else, what goes down must come up, or what goes up must come down. And if we look at the higher time frames, the H4, the H1, these are showing buy, showing a strong signal to buy. And the daily and the weekly are all showing signals to buy. So even the monthly. And if let me delete some of these trend lines. I'm going to delete all this here. If I draw a downtrend here, watch this. I can put on H1. You see this long downtrend, right? So if I draw a trend line here, kind of like that, all these points match up almost, and this would be a nice downtrend. So all we have to do is wait for this to break. I do not think it's going to drop any further, considering that we have a buy signal on the 4-hour and 1-hour chart. Okay, so this is definitely a good time to buy. I would just wait, however, until this trend line is officially broken. Once this trend line is broken, you can hop in for a buy, and this will probably happen sometime on Monday, maybe the later half of Monday, but it will definitely happen. And when that happens, boom, you're going to catch a lot of pips in the process. Okay, I know that everybody's waiting for the Australian dollar to go up, and this is the week that the Australian dollar will go up. Okay, I feel very confident on that. So moving on, the next is New Zealand dollar, US dollar, which again has done the same exact pattern. And New Zealand dollar typically follows the Australian dollar in price movement. Okay, now if we draw a trend line coming down, okay, this trend line is not going to be perfect, but if we draw a trend line like this, I don't see really technically a third point. So even the 4-hour, but it's okay. What might happen, and it's very difficult to say for certain, but I'm going to draw a support level here, and we have what's called a falling wedge pattern. I can predict that this is going to be going up at least for the first day or two, Monday or Tuesday. Probably this will touch this trend line and come back down again, and then eventually it's going to break out, and this is going to get very small inside of here, very tight, the candlesticks, and eventually it's going to break out and form an uptrend. Okay, so watch out in the beginning of this week for this to go up. If it breaks this trend, then that's when you want to buy. Okay, yes, you can buy right now, it's okay, and catch some pips, but the problem I have with that is there's still the support level down here which has not touched. So if you were to buy right now, chances are that this might go down even further. Okay, so to be 100% safe, wait for this trend line to break and then place your buy trade. So, and that will probably happen like Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. Probably about the middle of the week, we'll see a new trend form. So wait, just be patient, wait for this to break trend, and then hop in for a long-term buy. Okay, now moving on to USD Swiss Franc, US dollar Swiss Franc. If EURUSD, Pound USD, AUDUSD, all these pairs here I just talked about, New Zealand dollar, USD, all these were dropping, right? So that would mean that the US dollar has been gaining while the other ones are dropping. So now looking at USD Swiss Franc, you see that US dollar has been gaining, right? And so it looks to me like it's hit a fairly strong level of resistance because it's running sideways right now. But this is on a 15-minute chart. So if we look at the higher time frames like the H1 and H4, we see that it's at a, I want to say a soft level of resistance. On the H1 we have a down arrow. So it's definitely going to come down. But on the H4 there's no down arrow yet. So what's probably going to happen, the daily shows up and the weekly shows down. So what's probably going to happen is you're going to see this price drop some in the first part of the week, and then it's going to shoot up even further. And what we can do, how we can kind of gauge this and predict this, this is not going to be perfect, but I want to look at this trend line right here. Okay, we have an uptrend right here. Okay, now I think this price will drop, touch this trend line, and go up even further. If we look at the H4, we see a uptrend. We don't see any down arrows yet. So if this price comes back down, touches this trend line, and goes up even further, how high, how much further will it travel? That is a question. And we can see that we have this level of resistance right here. We have a level of support, which might be a level of resistance now. And we also have this level of support, which could also be a level of resistance. And then we have this previous level of resistance right here. So we have like different multiple levels of support and resistance that this could travel to. So I definitely feel like this will be going up long term. And the first day or two this week, you're going to see a drop. And it's probably going to go, it's not going to drop a lot, a few hundred points. And then it's going to touch this trend line somewhere around this tick mark here, which is 0.99540. You can predict that, you know, it'll come down to that point. I would place a buy limit pending order somewhere in this range right here, wait for that trip, and then go up further. And you can set your take profit around this level of resistance, right? Then if it breaks, place another trade and put your take profit here. Just wait and to keep doing that. If this level breaks, place another trade and put your take profit here, a little bit below. So catch each level as it goes up. What's going to happen is this week, at least this week, it's going to drop and then come back up to this support level. And it's going to keep going up. Now, we don't know 100% certain exactly what the future holds. Nobody does. I'm just showing you these different levels because this is a possibility. It could break this trend line and go down. So if at any time this trend line is broken, you can scratch, you can forget about these levels of support and resistance up here, because now you're going to have a new downtrend. And if you look at the higher time frames like the daily and weekly, weekly overall shows a downtrend here. So this is kind of a hard thing to decipher exactly what was going to happen, but we could draw something like this and say that, okay, this is a downtrend here, and we got a small uptrend, but then we got this downtrend here. If we go back down to like a H4 and I zoom out a little bit, we can say that maybe, and it's not 100% certain, but maybe the price will come down here, touch this trend line, come back down, break this trend line, and continue down further. So those are two possible scenarios. Either it's going to go up this trend line, or it's going to go down this trend line. Either one. So just be on the lookout. I would definitely put a buy limit pennant order right here, and then take profit somewhere around this trend line here, and then just wait and see what happens. If it breaks, you know it's going to keep going up. If it doesn't and breaks this, then you know it's going to keep going down, and then you can jump into a sell trade and catch some pips on the way down. Or if it breaks this and keeps going up, then we can catch pips on the way up. So just be on the lookout this week, and I cannot tell you exactly what's going to happen, but at least in the first day or so it's going to drop and then go back up. Probably about the middle of the week we can get a better idea of what's going to happen, okay, long term. So moving on to the next one, USD JPY. Now we can see that this past week is pretty much moved like a horizontal motion. It has some highs and lows obviously, but overall it's kind of flat, right? And it hit this same level of resistance several times. Where is that now? It's looking like it's going to be dropping. Now this is on a 15-minute chart, so if I look at the next higher time frame like a H1 or H4, we see that this is showing bullish still, right? And the H4 is showing bullish. Weekly showing bullish, daily showing bullish, and the monthly showing bearish still. So we can predict that this is most likely going to be going up. The thing is, like on this daily chart, for example, we have a downtrend. You can see this line right here. Just eyeball it, right? You see this perfect downtrend. So if this price goes up, which it probably will, it's going to encounter this trend line. Okay, there's a strong possibility that this could drop. If typically USD JPY will kind of do the opposite of whatever this one USD CHF does. If this one keeps going up, you're going to see this one go down. Okay, my nose itching. So either way, wait until this trend line is hit. If it forms a down arrow on the H1 or H4, then you know to sell. Okay, I would definitely place a sell trade and hold. But if it breaks, okay, if it breaks this trend line by 50 to 100 points, then buy. And then hold long term, because it's definitely going to be going up. But just right now, this market has been moving kind of a sideways fashion, and it's not very clear of what's really going to happen. Okay, so just keep in mind that we want to wait for this trend line to break, and if it bounces off, sell. If it breaks, buy. So just wait till about, I would say probably about the middle of the week, and then that would probably be about the time you want to hop into a trade. Okay, now moving on to USD Canadian Dollar, we see that this has been slowly gradually climbing, right? And it looks like it hit a fairly strong level of resistance. If you look at the H1 and H4, we see that the H1 has, you know, a down arrow, but the H4 does not. Okay, the daily has a down arrow, and the weekly has a down arrow. All right, and so does the monthly. So overall, the trend is showing bearish according to the larger time frames. Right now, problem is H4 has not formed a down arrow yet. So we can predict that price is going to drop in the first part of the week. Okay, and then it's going to shoot up even further and hit some level of resistance or support, and then shoot down, and then eventually form a downtrend. Okay. How we can predict this is if we look at the H1, we see an uptrend right here. Okay. So this price in the first part of the week, Monday or Tuesday, this is going to drop. At least on Monday, it's going to drop and touch this trend line. Either it's going to break and keep going down, or it's going to shoot up further. Because of the fact that on the H4 there's no down arrow, I feel strongly that this is going to touch this trend line and go up even further. Now, how far up it will go, I don't know. But what we can look at is some previous levels of support or resistance and kind of gauge what might happen. Okay, so with this level of support right here, this is a level of support, and it broke and became a level of resistance. So this level right here might hold, and what's going to happen is this will, in the beginning of the week, okay, in the beginning of the week, this is going to drop and then come back up and touch this level of resistance right here. If it breaks and goes up further, then we know we're going to have a long uptrend, and then you can buy. Or if this trend line breaks, then we know we got a strong downtrend, and you can sell. Either way, in the first part of the week, I would place a buy limit pennant order somewhere around this tick mark. If I draw a line right about here, the price is going to drop somewhere in here. It's going to hover for a while and drop and touch this trend line somewhere in here. And then if you have a pennant order here, a buy limit pennant order, then what happens is it will trip and it'll come back up, and you can set your take profit somewhere around here and catch a few hundred pips, right? If I draw crosshairs, so you're looking about 400 to 500 pips easily. Okay, so that's not bad. And then at that point, we want to kind of just chill out and wait and see what's going to happen around the middle of the week. Around the middle of the week, we can get an even better picture of what's really going to happen, if this trend line breaks or if it continues up even further. Okay, so in the first half of the week, place a buy limit pennant order and then just wait. So that's my analysis for US dollar, Canadian dollar, and overall that's my analysis for all these pairs. I think US dollar overall will be going up this week, but it's going to kind of stall out some, and we're not going to see a huge uptrend for the US dollar. But we've already been seeing for the past week or so that we've had this long uptrend anyways. So now you're going to see it come down and then back up again. It's going to, like I said, stall out, and we're going to have a kind of a retracement this week before it even goes back up again. So anyhow, let me know if you agree with my predictions or you think I'm crazy. Let me know what your predictions are, and you can compare your predictions to my predictions, and then we can have an open discussion about this. I'd like to hear from you, see what you think will happen. Okay, also, if you have another currency pair, I'm not going to go over all these currency pairs, my God, but if you want to check on pound CHF, Euro JPY, whatever, you want my analysis, just send me a message on Facebook and I'll see what I can do for you. And I'll try to give you my best analysis on what's going to happen. But at the same time, I also request that you give me your analysis in advance so we can compare. Okay? So let me know if you have any questions. There is a link below in the description of this video for my personal Facebook. You can contact me there. Also, there's a link for my private Facebook group, and you can post any questions or comments in my Facebook group, and this way myself or other traders can collaborate with you and we can openly discuss this. Okay, so with that said, I hope you have a good trading week, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, thank you very much.